research paper, and this one is for investigation, an independent study. Okay, can you read, everyone? Tell me. Ready? Go.
Tell me, and I forgot. Show me, and I remember. Involve me, and I understand.
Okay. I would like to ask you, which one do you like? There is 1, 2, and 3, right? And why? And which one do you like least? You know, the most and the least. Lashmi. Tell me and I forget. Show me and I remember. Involve me and I understand.
Well, obviously, I think I did a research paper and involved this code before when I was trying to give examples. Yeah, I like the involve me and I understand part the most, especially since I'm more of kinesthetic than audio learner kind of thing. But yeah, but then if it's something negative or something which I don't wish to remember, then yeah, tell me and I forget it.
Okay, so you like involve me and I understand?
Yeah.
Okay, actually this older dad is from Benjamin Franklin, okay? And this is very famous in some schools. They use this as a framework, okay? And aside from Lashmi, who else? Just one more, inhale.
Yeah, I like, of course, involve me and
Why, in the sense?
because when the students is engaged or you're doing the application, they truly understand more the lesson.
Ano ba?
I think in my teaching, usually if I feel I don't have enough time, I just tell them the knowledge that I found it's really bad because they cannot remember with truth. So maybe I can change my method. Maybe I can give them some topic, like some question on the paper, and then give them to the students. Let them to open the book and from the answer and write it down. I think that.
Yeah, and that's the way you involve them in class. What about, yes?
I also think that's actually not a bad, if you're thinking of a lesson planning, it's actually not a bad sequence to have in mind.
Yeah.
It's a lesson plan, actually. You start off by telling the student, and you also assume that if that's all you do, they're probably going to forget. But it's a good place to start, is just to tell them what it is you're going to go over, and then show them some kind of demonstration, and then have them try it. So if you're going to increase levels of understanding, it's not actually a bad sequence for a lesson plan. You might have intended that way with Frank instead of that, I don't know. But that's sort of the sequence for learning something, too. It's in order. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Gina? You're a trainer, right?
I like the last one would most involve me and I understand. And as all of you that you apply this sentence for your teaching, for me in my training class, when I just teach my audiences the techniques of selling skill, they get it, but finally they forget it. But if I let them do the role play, when I involve them into the real situation, they will remember more
The
than
more
just-
they will remember because they are, doing it already, you're involving them. It's really correct. What about you, Mr. Hua? You seem to be very quiet. But I know you have lots you can share with us.
In fact, I like the last one.
Mm-hmm.
It's called, in each person, they design to discover something. What you teach is only theory, I can say that. Only theory. But what I do, based on what you teach, is called my experience. And from that experience, I can get that the bad, that the good, and be applied for my own life. What you teach, or what I heard, what I feel from other people, even when I read from another book, that theory, not my own experience. When I do it, that I do it by my hand, as I get it. become my own research, is become a gift. And that I know how to use as gift.
Thank you so much. Teach in one more time, share us what you do in your classroom to involve your students. Can you say something about your students? When you teach, how do you teach them? Okay, just one sentence. Just one sentence. Okay. How do you teach your students in the classroom? What do you normally do?
I'm teaching here.
Yes. And what do you do with your students? What do you do with them? Teach them songs? Okay, what do you do with them?
Sometimes I show them reading
Okay.
and a song.
Okay, thank you so much.
I have a example.
Okay.
Yeah, example. For example, we use this tonight, Dr. Andy. Dr. Andy took the position. He just tell us maybe we cannot remember right, but maybe get some PPT about. I said okay, it's better remember. But if tonight even you transportation and our
So sometimes it's very difficult, it's like language is really very important to involving your students in what you do in your classroom, right? Do you agree? Yeah, because there will be no involvement if they don't understand what you're talking about in the class. So
people just show
One
that
factor.
yeah, they will think it's not my something, it's not something out of me. So they just want to stay, sit and listen, and then go home, forget all of that. So if you give them a chance, maybe let me teach you Chinese. If you give them a chance to use the language they learn, so they will remember all of that. So I love the percentage so much. It's true.
yeah, thank you for that. And what I would like you to do here, essence of inquiry, okay, relies on the student's innate curiosity and inquisitiveness. What do you think will comes next after this inquisitiveness? Can you think of related to discovery learning?
Excuse me. You?
Those are good in English. Relies on the student and also again relies on the student's innate curiosity. What is curiosity in the first place? What is it? And what is inquisitiveness?
What killed the cat?
What is it?
It's wanting to know, wanting to know more about
yeah.
something.
Trying to discover. So what do you think will be next after inquisitiveness? Anything that you can construct. Relies on the student's curiosity and
Interest?
yes?
I think the curiosity and inquisitiveness connects very well to the quote that you showed earlier, because
Yeah.
a lot of times if students are not directly involved, then the curiosity that they had initially starts to be stamped out. It starts to disappear,
Yeah.
and they lose that attitude of being inquisitive about whatever you're trying to teach them. So a lot of times I might initially present a topic for, say, like in science, kinetic and potential energy, and I could talk about it and they might be very curious about it, and I could even show a video about it, and that might stimulate their curiosity even more, and I could do a demonstration and that might get them even more curious about it. But if I don't directly involve them, they're going to lose all that curiosity eventually. It's just going to fizzle out. So eventually I have to let them get involved in the problem, right? And let them try to solve it and explore and try it for
That's a great
themselves.
way to explore.
And then when they get a chance to show their own demonstration of what potential and kinetic energy is, what's the difference between the two, then their curiosity begins to soar, because then they're up there, they're doing it, they're showing it, all their friends are getting excited, and their hands are, it's hands-on. And so I think those two things, this particular statement and the quote before, is very intimately connected and very important.
Actually, you can say relies on the students in their curiosity and inquisitiveness, which will allow them to explore, something like that, and so many things like, the environments, involve themselves in the alternative energy source. In science, we have so many things that we can let our students learn. Ecology, something like that.
And I think another key word you have there is innate, meaning it's inside of us, right? It's our natural desire to want to know. And sometimes as teachers, we don't realize, or we don't have the attitude that our students actually want to learn this. And sometimes those feelings come across to the students, and we don't realize that that's their internal desire. They want to understand it. They want to do it. They want to jump in and get involved. And when we allow them to do that, then that their excitement just explodes, and they really, the learning really begins to happen.
As if they don't want to stop anymore. They don't want to stop thinking. Okay, thank you for that.
I want to make a comment here, because this is something that I don't know if you guys, some of you may have noticed this already, but if you didn't, I want to make sure that they all notice what just happened here in the last couple of minutes. Because David made a connection between 2 or 3 ideas. Now, I'm sure all of you picked up on what he was talking about. That obviously was pretty clear. I think his ideas were clear. But I'm not sure if you were able to realize why he did that or not, or why he was able to do it. But I can tell you, and here I will sort of instruct a little bit directly, the reason he was able to do that is because of the fact that, I don't know if you noticed or not, but the last 4 or 5 slides that we've seen, each had one idea or one quote on them, right? And then we spent some time talking about each of them, Evan leading the discussion, but we talked for maybe a few minutes about each of them. And what that did is it made the ideas clear enough in your mind, because your mind was not crowded by a lot of information on any one slide. So these 3 or 4 different sets of ideas in sequence were clear to you, and as a result of that clarity, David was able to say, you know what, this connects back to the comment that was up there earlier, and then he was able to provide us with some more ideas based on that. But I want you guys to notice that when you're trying to get students to engage with you and discuss with you and discover some ideas on their own, that's one of the ways you can do it, is by decreasing the amount of content that you're putting up for discussion, even on a slideshow. That's obviously a pretty direct method of teaching that she's using right now, with slides and with discussion. I mean, we're not generating the topics, she's generating them. But even with that kind of method of instruction, still by putting small amounts on each slide and discussing each one, there's more interaction. In other words, the simplicity, what do you want to do? You want to put in your own ideas. That's what you want to do. It's a natural tendency. You want to fill that space with some ideas of your own. And that's why this technique works so well. Okay, continue.
Yes, actually what you said, Dr. Andy, is really very true, because now we have this one disadvantage that I forgot to put it in my slide, but it's like overloading of information to the students. It's not really good because what will happen, it's like a bridge full of people and cars, and just imagine after so many years, people keep going and going to that bridge, what will happen? It will collapse, right? So it's similar to the brains of people, like the students that we have. Sometimes it will just stop. It will just stop. Suddenly you don't notice it if you put too much information. And that happened to me last time.